that gets said on this podcast. And it's just going to be an episode. Like one day when we don't record and it's like just an hour long of shit that got recorded that we couldn't put on for a regular episode. Bobby talking about dildos at Yerba Jam.
Chicka wanna stick 'em.
That's my new song.
Chicka wanna stick 'em almost sounds like a sexual position.
It's in the Karma Sutra, but like the part they cut out where they're like, oh.
Wait. Let's go back to it's the
I
Karma.
said
Karma Sutra. It comes back around. That's why.
That's why it's the Karma Sutra, not the Kama Sutra.
It comes back around,
Yeah,
Chris.
sometimes you're going and sometimes you're coming.
Coming and farting at the same time.
That sounds so painful.
It sounds fucking great. My back would crack. Hello, Free Rotation Nation.
Ole, ole, ole.
Welcome to this episode of Your Host Recommends of all the things. All the things. I am joined by our head honcho, our leader, Angela.
Hello.
Our legal advisor, Bex.
Hello.
And some fucking asshole named Chris.
Hey.
It's never an episode if you don't knock your mic.
Bink.
True.
I know.
Yeah. No, if she doesn't knock her mic, the podcast, the episode's deleted.
And it was
somehow.
like a foreboding noise before Chris at A.
I know.
It's Chris. Boom.
It's like when David Tennant's about to regenerate, the one like that he'll knock 4 times. Everyone watches Doctor Who.
I think you're the only one in this room that watches Doctor Who.
Wow, I guess I'm a fucking nerd. It's fine. It's fine.
Speaking of nerds.
Speaking of nerds, we are doing our top 5 whatevers. Movies, foods, games, books, sexual positions, porn sites, whatever have you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's whatever.
You took it that way, but sure.
When don't I take it
I
that
did
way?
say top 5 whatever, so it could be whatever you want it to be.
You fucked up. Actually, mine's fine. It's just movies.
Okay. Well, that's the thing is it was supposed you could be like top 5 movies of all time, all of them. Or you could be like top 5 pasta dishes of all time. Like those are things.
Eggplant parmesan. Instantly.
I don't like eggplant parmesan.
Well, it doesn't fucking like you, Becky.
It doesn't because I'm lactose intolerant. So
You can use like fucking vegan cheese.
vegan cheese isn't cheese.
Yeah, but Angie,
Okay.
back me up here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There you go. See.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, Becky, since you want to be Mrs. Sassy Pants today,
I'm not Mrs. Sassy Pants, but
what's your top 5?
I will start with an easy top 5. I'm going to talk about my top 5, my favorite book. Now, okay, I need to preface this, that my favorite book for a long time was The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley.
Yeah.
One of the best books ever written.
Sure.
I bought Angie 17 copies to read this book, and she lost almost every single copy of them. Because I was like, this is such a good book. And she's like, oh, yeah, it's really good.
It's a cursed book. Every time I would get to the exact same spot, I'd lose it, break it. It would, like, accidentally get thrown into, like, a wood chipper. I'm not even kidding.
How do you break a book?
Like, it just
I
breaks
don't
in half.
know, like-
It's weird, yeah. So,
Sure.
for years, this was my favorite book. You can ask Angie. I read it in college. I was like, this book is amazing. It means so much.
One time I got drunk and just barfed on the one random book. It was
Yeah.
hot pink, too. There was no saving it. It was Hunch Punch Night.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, why is it a pink tit? You're like, well, this is a funny story. Anyways, but that's before a few years ago it came out that her and her husband, Marion Zimmer Bradley, were huge pedophiles. And
Oh, no.
she would like let little kids come to her house so her husband could molest them. So I don't say that's my favorite book anymore because it's really awkward to be like, my favorite book is written by this person who is a pedophile.
I feel
There's a lot of
dirty.
pedophilic undertones.
Yes.
Like,
Now
she's very young when she gets sexually awakened.
yeah, Mists of Avalon is from Morgan Le Fay's perspective of the Arthurian legend, and it's such a good book. But then you kind of start reading it, and you're like, oh, this is not good. So now my favorite book that I tell people is The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek. I want to say that's how she says it.
That sounds Russian.
In a shocking turn of events, it is about Viking mythology.
Oh.
But it's about I can't pronounce her name, and I'm going to get so yelled at. Angerboda. She's mentioned in literally a paragraph in any sort of Norse mythology. She's the mother of Hel, Fenrir, and the world serpent, which Jorgamon. It's hard to say these Viking words, Norse words, but she was the wife of Loki.
Oh.
But she's only mentioned in like 4 sentences in anything. So this woman was like a historian for Viking mythology, and she wrote an entire story about her being the what are you laughing at?
I'm just picturing you reading the book and you're like, her, like, and you're
Like you just
you're
kind of
worried.
like, you know how you just kind of like your eyes just blank out and you just kind of pass along? That's what I did. But
And then anger.
But it was a fantastic book. So it talks about she was one of the first witches in Norse mythology, and it kind of goes through her life having her children with Loki, and then and how her children play a role in Ragnarok. But it was very good. So I highly recommend if you like Norse mythology and any sort of like side interpretations of stories. Witchcraft. I tend to like books about witches. It's just a shocking turn of events. But one of the best books I've read. Honestly, and it just came out last year. I read it when we went to the cabin in Blue Ridge. You can ask Angie. I think I read that 2 days straight.
Jesus.
And it was good. It was just it was very bittersweet and sad, but it was also a very hopeful story about what happens post Ragnarok, and how the world looks. But it kind of like plays into the Norse stories of like Loki turning into a horse and getting pregnant.
I'm out.
That's a whole thing.
I'm hard out.
Thor pretending to be a frost giant's wife, and then like going into and like killing them all. So you hear those parts of the stories, but there's no focus on that part. It's more about her life and what kind of prophetic things happened to her and how important she was in the story, even though you don't really hear anything about her. But that was my book recommendation for today.
Sweet.
Angie, you want to go next?
No.
I'm going to high five in. Go.
So I have a book recommendation as well. It's The Celestian Prophecy by James Redman. It's one of those books that when I read it was life-changing. It really was. It made me think of the world in a different way. And I would just recommend anybody read it. It's about this guy, and as he meets this person on a like he's traveling, and he meets someone on a train, and she tells him, he's like, well, this was really unusual that we met each other. And she said, nothing happens by accident. There's no chances in the world. You meet who you're supposed to meet. Every conversation you have, you're supposed to have it. It's just up to you to find the meaning of it. So it's him finding the meaning and tracking down through a series of random meetings with people what he's supposed to find. And at the end, he reaches a state of enlightenment. And it's just really good.
Okay.
It's also tied, so this was like a 2-for-1. But I really like The Girl with the Ghost Eyes.
Oh, that's a good book.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like a combo of like Siddhartha and like Before Sunrise.
What, The Girl with the Ghost Eyes?
No, the one before.
Celestine Prophecy.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like a combo of those, and I love the Before movies. They make me cry.
Well,
every
is
time.
it a nonfiction?
No.
Oh, it's fictional. Mm-hmm. Okay. It just sounds like one of those books that you read about, like telling you, like, hey, this is how you should believe in living your life and stuff like that.
It's kind of like it was his journey, but at the end, they ascend.
Oh.
So it becomes like, I'm sure there's parts that are non-fictional, but you know, when people disappear and ascend to a higher form of existence, it becomes like supernatural. Would you say supernatural or science fiction at that point?
A bit of both.
I think it's like a religious undertone, if anything.
How
like,
dare you? How dare you?
My bad.
How
Maybe
fucking
spiritual.
dare you?
How dare I do that? I do that.
Oh, I did really like, for a long time when I was a kid, I really loved This Present Darkness and
The Giver was one of
No, there was a religious book. It was called This
Oh.
Present Darkness.
Oh.
And it's when the 144,000 are zooped up into heaven and all the Christians are gone and we're left on earth as sinners. Oh, I love how I included myself in that.
I was thinking of Left Behind, the Left Behind series.
It's the Left Behind series.
Oh.
It starts with This Present Darkness.
Oh my God. That book jacked me
And
up
then
as a kid.
Piercing the Darkness, and it's really good.
Damn.
Anyways,
Sweet.
The Celestine Prophecy by James Redman.
Nice.
Bob's tagging it.
My book recommendation is actually it's a
We're
small.
a bunch of fucking nerds, by the way.
True. It is a small book. It is called I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. It is my all-time favorite book. It is fucking phenomenal. I read it when the Will Smith movie came out in the mid-2000s, and fuck that movie. It's actually bad.
Right.
Because
The book is amazing.
they've adapted that book 3 fucking times, and they can't get it goddamn right.
Which is crazy because the book is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to kind of follow.
Just make a fucking TV show, a miniseries.
Yeah.
I think a miniseries.
Yeah.
fucking so
good. I think it was, better in the movie for him to actually be a man alone.
Yeah.
But, the book is much different.
Yeah.
For the uninitiated, I Am Legend is about a man named Robert Neville who is what appears to be the sole survivor of a vampire apocalypse. He hunts vampires during the day, scavenges for food, and then at night he locks himself in his house and the vampires taunt him relentlessly. And a lot of them are his neighbors, so it's people
Right.
he knew, and they retain that part of their personality. And it's an interesting part, it's probably my favorite part in the book. Typically in fiction with vampires, they are scared of Judeo-Christian mythology, so like a crucifix and whatnot. Interesting enough, one of Neville's neighbors is Jewish. So Neville breaks out the fucking Star of David and stuff. Not Star of David, the Torah, whatever the book is, and it fucking terrifies them. It's just interesting. And it turns out that snakes themselves don't kill the vampires. It's bacteria that when you do it kills them. So it's just interesting things like that, and I really like it.
I really like
So
I Am Legend because it's akin to like almost Ender's Game if you kind of think about it, with the way the monsters are actually, spoiler alert, sentient versus not just being mindless zombies that you're going after.
That's why the movie sucked, because they never went into zombies.
That's the thing. And I mean, to be fair, we are kind of living in the I Am Legend, the cure is worse than the disease sort of like thought process.
It took away the whole like part where he finds other people and they're like, we can cure this. We can figure it out. And then vampires are like, we don't want to fucking be cured.
No.
Yeah.
So can we just not live together?
Also, we're going to kill all of you unless you give this man up as a sacrifice.
Yeah. I mean,
which is fair.
I think it was a great book for like just putting different perspectives on different things. It's like we've always seen monsters as like the evil, mindless beings. And then it's like, oh, you did this. Now they're fucking pissed off, and they kind of have a right to be pissed off. Like, that's, if somebody killed Angie, I probably would be like, let's go. I'm going to fight them.
You're going to jerk off in front of them?
Yes, that's exactly my plan.
I mean,
I saw your face. You're like,
okay, kinkier than I anticipated. But
we all grieve differently.
Yeah, we all agree.
We've all sad fapped at one point.
Are you proud of me, Dad?
We have not.
Becky on Pornhub.
Oh, no.
She's really full of grief.
Liquid grief, as they call it. But yeah, it's my book recommendation. You can actually find it online for free because I think it's in the public domain by this point.
It's an old one, yeah.
It's like it came out in the 50s, I think.
It's a good book. Good book.
Yeah, Chris, what's your book recommendation? We don't care. Go ahead.
I would actually laugh if Chris like, fuck y'all, I didn't do a book recommendation.
Fair enough. I also did not prepare a top 5 books, but I do have my favorite books. So I have 2 that are like my all-time favorite. I mean, so you have like classics that are just good.
Yeah.
So my favorite of all the classics is like Flowers for Algernon.
Oh, so sad.
That story's horrifying to me, and everybody gets sad, and I'm like, no, this is a fucking nightmare come to life.
Yeah.
That whole story is just awesome, and it's super short. You can read it in an hour.
Yeah.
But like the part that scares me is like the knowledge that you're becoming just way more dumb than you were. The understanding of that you're slipping away. That's just a terrifying concept to me. Mm-hmm. Like, just let me be stupid.
Yeah, like happens. I don't want to understand what's happening.
Yeah. That part is terrifying, and I just love that book. And it's that, and like shortly behind it is The Lottery by Shirley Jackson, because that book's awesome. I have my brain is odd, but that is also an amazing story, and it does not end the way you think it does. But it's just really good, and they're really well written, and I like the ones that turn and make you actually think about stuff in a different way. Mm-hmm. So those are like my favorite classics. My favorite like contemporary nonfiction, whatever, is The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub. It ties into the whole Dark Tower series because all of his books do, but this is a different take on it. It has a lot of the same characters, but it is a long, epic 1,100 page. It's just really good, and the way it combines, I don't know if you're not familiar with the Dark Tower and a lot of Stephen King's books, they combine like our world with other, not like other dimensional worlds, but worlds that are like next to ours in a different wavelength, and at different times, and things have happened differently, and it really ties them together. And it's about a kid that can jump across the worlds basically, but there are people that are not fans of that and don't like it that he can, and they try to kill him, and there's people that help him, and it's just really good. Mm-hmm. If you want to get immersed in a book, that's the one that'll take you pretty far. And if you really want to get into the Dark Tower series, that's the one I tell everybody to start with.
Mm-hmm. And then the follow-up to Black House.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
still
really
just
good.
as good.
Yeah, it's really
I
dumb.
was thinking it can't possibly be as good as The Talisman. It was.
It was, yeah. It's really good.
Yeah.
Turns out when you turn your character into an alcoholic and he fights the Crimson King, it's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Also, don't read it, though, because it's just a combo of all that and a shit ton of cocaine.
It was awesome, and you can eat a bag of dicks.
No, I don't like the It book at all. It's too much.
It was good.
Yeah, I mean, of all the Stephen King's, The Talisman's my favorite. I like the whole Dark Tower series, but I consider it as like one basic, like, long book. Mm-hmm. I really like The Stand. That book's insane. And it also has a lot of the same characters. They all tie in over all of his books, which is really interesting when you get into like the Stephen King universe where all the characters are through all the dimensions, because there's this idea in them that you're you, but you're also you in this other parallel world that's just kind of like a different version of you that does different stuff, but it's still you. Like
it's funny because I think maybe 4 or 5 months before you started on the podcast that we did an entire episode on the Stephen King universe.
Yeah, it's really fun.
It was these two. I've only ancillary and like read and watched Stephen King stuff because it's like I can make it halfway through a book and then I'm like, that took a fucking weird turn and I'm out. Like, I don't know what else. Like, The Regulators, I was like, I don't know about this. I'm out.
Some of his newer stuff is
funny enough, Tack
weird.
is from...
Yeah. Well, it's also, Tack is a version of the Eternal Monster in It.
Yeah.
The evil. It's all the same. They all tie in together.
Yeah. They're all the world-eating monsters.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I love it. I love Tack.
Yeah.
And then the book right after that. So it was Regulators, and then the book where the family is driving in the car and the car breaks down. And it's also the R something, but
D or something. Yeah, something like that. It's the movie had Ronald Perlman and as the sheriff.
I know what you're talking about. I can't. The Devastators? No.
Yeah, something like that. That was just right after the Regulators, and it was the something just equally as good.
Yeah.
And Tack. It's like, oh my god.
Well, he's eternal and can't be killed.
Yeah.
Same thing with It. Like you can't kill that. It's one of the basically a monster from the Blind Eternities. It can't be destroyed. It just
Yeah.
You can make it go away for a while, and that's kind of it.
And then you get to the outsider. Then you get to the outsider, and there's the one that they've been looking to wake up.
Yeah, forever.
And there he is. Oh man, he's there.
That was a good book too, Outsiders. That one really scared me.
And a good movie on H.
Yeah,
it's a
miniseries.
show. It was a
miniseries.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was really good.
It's really good.
Yeah, most of the Stephen King movies are just hot garbage.
Yes.
The ones that they do well are awesome. So you're talking
Yeah.
about like The Green Mile is
The
amazing.
Mist.
Yeah, The Mist is good.
Yeah.
I really like Storm of the Century, which is like a miniseries.
Super good.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it.
And I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Shawshank Redemption, also amazing. But then you get into like Silver Bullet and
like Dolores Claiborne.
yeah, it's whatever.
Kathy Bates was good.
I like
She's
Misery.
Calvin.
Misery,
Yeah.
too.
Oh, Misery was good.
But some of them are just like Pet Cemetery it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna watch it. Like it's never gonna be on. And I'm like, I need to watch Pet Cemetery today. No, thank you. I'd rather just read the book and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if like The Green Mile's on, I will sit down and watch all 19 hours of that movie because it's just fantastic.
Yes. It is very good.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I think this is where we're going to start to deviate on our top fives. My second favorite thing I'm recommending are Korean dramas. I never talk about this because nobody else on this podcast.
Should we mute her mic? Because fuck K-dramas.
Shut up. I love Kate. Turn my mic back on. There we go. But if you like, okay.
Bored housewife?
No. Y'all, I'm not
Just
going.
she and her husband at that point.
Okay, I actually watched a couple. One Becky recommended to me. I never told her I watched it. It's actually pretty good.
I'm telling you, here's the thing. If you want to see every trope ever known to man made into a show, a K-drama is where you're at. And I know people are like, it's so like dramatic, but they're funny too. They're like hilarious.
We have that in the States called soap operas.
No, they're not like soap operas whatsoever though. Like that's the thing that people don't understand. K-dramas just mean drama. It's a TV show, like a Korean TV show. Let me recommend the one I would start with if you are a new listener or a new watcher.
Oh My Ghost.
I love Oh My Ghost, but not
Okay,
Oh My
I watched
Ghost.
that one.
Oh, did you watch it? Yes, it was good. And then there's one called Let's Fight Ghosts, which is my favorite one.
Is it a sequel?
No, it's a different one, but it's a guy who literally like fights ghosts. Like he literally gets in physical altercations with ghosts and like punches them back into heaven.
Nice.
It was good. But if you're a new watcher, Crash Landing on You is on Netflix. It is probably the top recommended K-drama of the last 5 years. It is so good. It's funny. It's sad. It has a great story. It's wholesome. It's about a woman who's from South Korea and she's like a fashion designer and all of that. And during one of her shoots, her like parachute, this is how stupid it is. Her parachute like gets stuck and she ends up in North Korea. And she has to like escape back. And you would think it's like, oh, this is like super strifey and stuff. It's not. It's fucking hilarious. The whole idea of her being like, you don't have a cell phone. And they're like, what's a cell phone? They're like, she's like, what do you mean you don't have a cell phone? Like, how do you function? Blah, blah, blah.
But she has to be undercover, too,
She has to be undercover on top of it. So they're trying to help her get back. And then it's funny because on the switch side of it, the guys who help her, of course, she, like her love interest, and then her, like the army guys who help her, they come to South Korea and they're like,
This is amazing.
is fucking amazing. Yeah. And like all this stuff. It's really funny. So I know a lot of people are like, hey, drama, blah, blah, but just try and watch one, and you will see why they're so. And you don't have to watch a sad one. You can watch. They have funny ones. They have scary ones. It's like anime except Korean dramas. So.
Gotcha.
Sounds like a bunch of propaganda to scare people away from the glorious nation of North Korea.
You know, we're going to have to talk to you about that.
No, we don't. I'm what Chris said.
Oh, whatever. You liked it. You liked Let's Fight Go or Oh My Ghost.
Let's Fuck Ghosts. That's a pretty good show.
Hashtag North Korea, best Korea.
Hashtag. They don't even know what hashtags are. They just think they're hash browns. Anyways, you're up.
Hash browns.
So something that is one of my favorite things to do, especially like when your mind gets chaotic, is I like to sit down and read classics. Not classics you may think. I like to read like T.S. Eliot poetry. I really love it, and I like to read Ernest Hemingway.
Fuck
There's
punctuation.
That's right. I'm just gonna run on a whole sentence for 2. But Ernest Hemingway was such an interesting guy. Like he was a man's man and a man's man.
I was a big fan of man.
Yeah.
He liked penis.
I'll go fishing with you and teach you how to fix your car and do all these incredible things, and I'll suck your dick.
Yeah, but it was.
I mean,
again,
he was a true Renaissance man.
He
well,
was.
not just that, but you couldn't be like, and it's. I think about this a lot. Like you couldn't be like openly like a twink back in the day.
Yeah.
Like you were still expected to be a
man.
man. Like you had to be able to do manly things. And I mean, he was a person of his era. Like he had to be able to do that kind of stuff, build a cabin, cut down wood, work on stuff, but also just having to be gay. Like whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just like to read his stuff. I like to read Elizabeth Barrett Browning. I like to read The Wallpaper. Like you can see the loneliness and the repressed sexuality in a lot of their writings, and I like Sylvia Plath. Okay, I like a lot of dark stuff, but I just like to read. I like to make those connections. I like T.S. Eliot, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. I just really like that.
That's all.
Rocking out the bell jar and.
If you ever want to be depressed,
Oh man.
and so have something to drink your whiskey to.
Sure. You mean One Guy, One Jar?
Yeah, but don't be afraid to pull out some of the classics and just read them, like Truman Capote.
Sure.
Yeah, just Jack Kerouac. Just read these old classics. They're really good.
Speaking of Truman Capote, I'm going to recommend a movie.
Okay.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh.
All-time favorites. It's so good. And Harper Lee was a good friend of Truman Capote. That was interesting to see them in the movie together. I was like, oh, I know they were friends. Because the movie's really good, too. Also watch Capote. That movie's fantastic. But, Kill a Mockingbird. It's great. Read the book, too. Fucking watch the movie. It's amazing.
I feel like we are very high classic people, and I'm like, I love K-dramas. Like,
No, you're fine. Fuck.
Some of those K-dramas are really, really good.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Like, I watched the one where they were on the boat, and I can't think of what it's called. Like, where the girls are tied down to the table and the boat is sinking. Well, they don't... Oh, spoiler alert, the boat's sinking.
Oh, fuck.
And they have to... One of their classmates killed herself, and they're like, who's responsible? Oh, you all fucking are. You're all pieces of shit. That was good. But turns out the girl didn't kill herself.
Oh.
Yeah, there's really no reason to watch that now. But it was
I don't
good.
know what it's called. It's fine.
Welcome to your synopsis, we're done.
I will say To Kill a Mockingbird in high school and college was one of my favorite books.
cute.
I liked the movie, but the book was like, it's when you get old enough to start reading those classics and understanding what's actually going on, other than like in elementary school, they're like, you need to read this because it makes your mind brain. You're like, ugh. But like To Kill a Mockingbird was very eye-opening to like growing up in such a like sheltered, very white community.
Well, and how
seeing
innocent
the difference.
kids are,
Yes.
because the truly like unracist person was Scout,
Yeah.
and like the dad. I mean,
He was racist,
he was
Yeah.
racist as hell.
but he did his job. That
He
was
did
his
his
point.
job.
Yeah.
And that was it, and he did it to the best of his ability. So like, there's so many ways to look at that story and appreciate it for what it is, and it's such a good snapshot. And I don't know if Harper Lee was racist like people say she was, because she wrote this innocence and acceptance.
So I think you can separate the art from the person. Mm-hmm. But again, there were a lot of... and again, we look at things that are racist today as racist versus back when things were going on. They were still racist, but it was also just a matter of course.
Yeah.
Like, they may have thought they were being progressive and were still being very, very racist.
Yes.
And it's just like, they were doing the best they can with what they had. So, like, I typically separate the art from the person. Like, I
Yeah.
have that disconnect where I don't have to worry about, like, with your story with the pedophiles, like, yeah, they're horrible people, but that doesn't mean they didn't make art that is
and
helpful.
That I agree with. It's just hard to disconnect that idea of like how they were as people and like supporting them as people, knowing that they molested their kids and stuff that. Yeah, and it's hard. And the thing is, like, if I could just separate that, I would always say Mists of Avalon is number one, my favorite book of all time.
Sure. So, and I think there's a weird thing where people kind of do that and they kind of don't. So, like, you have a problem with Mists of Avalon, but like Chris Brown still sells 1 million albums, and it's like, they're either you ignore it or you don't.
Right.
I just don't ignore it. I just separate it. Like, you can be a piece of shit human being, but still have made something wonderful. Like,
well, I think
history's full of those people. We just don't know what they thought.
Well, and I think Harper Lee, I think the way she did it is, I think the best thing she did was write it from Scout's perspective, because it was such almost an objective perspective of what's going on. Because you do have people who are immediately thinking that, you know, this black man killed this little girl. And then you have her father, who she idolizes as a person, doing the right thing. But then later, you know, in her sequel, you find out he was like a huge racist and stuff like that. So it is interesting to see how that narrative, I just don't think writers like that they are necessarily like trying to put out that they're the way they are. It's just, they're just telling a story, I guess.
I think it's that. I think we have to separate, because, and I look at it like, if you found out that, I don't know, like the Sistine Chapel was built by a bunch of people that really dislike the Jews, does it make it not a beautiful sculpture, like a place to visit that's not gorgeous? No, those people just sucked. Like, it doesn't mean the art itself is flawed or inherently bad. It's just people suck a lot, and you don't have to support them to understand that they created something that is beautiful. And it just gotta suck sometimes, because when you're living in a time with them, like, I won't buy Chris Brown album because, you know, he beat the hell out of Rihanna. Also, I don't like his music. R. Kelly pees on kids, and they still buy. It's just this weird disconnect that we as a society have, that we pick and choose, like, which part of humanity that we don't like the best, that we don't support their art. So there's a magic artist who makes.
The clan guy.
Yeah, he is very openly racist and he's on a lot of classic Magic cards. The art on him is really cool. He's a really bad person.
Yeah.
He has a lot of, like, pro-Hitler art, like, on his personal page. It's really off-putting.
Which one is it?
The guy that did, I think his name is Harold McNeil. He did Invoke Prejudice. He did a lot of The Abyss. A lot of those old school, spooky, like, really cool, angular-looking cards.
Yeah.
His art style is really like that. But he also is really not about race mixing and really pro-Hitler. And you're like, dude, what the shit is wrong with you? But I also wonder if it takes that sort of something being broken inside of you to create art.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, with Sylvia Plath and T.S. Eliot, these were very sad people who had a lot of trauma, but some of the things they created are amazing. And it's just like, do you have to have that sort of brokenness in you?
Even Hemingway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you need that to create something that reaches the people? Is it something inside of us that's so visceral and basic that we see it for what it is, versus here's this flower that everybody notices? Like,
you know, it reminds me of J.K. Rowling and how recently people are turning against her for her personal beliefs. And but what she wrote was, even though it was fantasy, it was such a great series and so touching. But then it's like, but you are super transphobic.
Sure. And here's the thing, as long as she, and I don't care that she's transphobic at all. Mm-hmm. As long as she doesn't have any effect on any trans people, I don't care. Yeah. Like, I really don't. If you really dislike gay people, that's fine. As long as you don't interact with any gay people or have any rule over their life, dislike whoever you like.
I think that's why I can, that I can separate more so. I think my big problem with Marion Zimmer Bradley is the fact she actually hurt people. Yeah. And if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just saying, like, it's one of those things that we separate certain things and not others. And
I agree.
It's weird. I think you have to have something for great art of any variety. I think there has to be something messed up inside of you. Yeah. So,
okay.
Just my little rant on art.
Well, speaking of art, Chris, what's your rec?
So, one of my favorite TV shows ever, I'm going to go ahead and say, and it's not even like it's that obscure, it's just fucking phenomenal, is The Sopranos. Yeah. I love The Sopranos. I'm currently rewatching it again for like the 9th time. I love mobster movies. I love gangster shit. The Sopranos is awesome, and it's got a little bit of everything. So it's got like love and hate and murder and murder and murder and murder, and
Seems like a lot of murder.
It's a lot of murders.
Yeah.
But it also shows like, and it's weird that people don't think about this a lot. There are cultures that have misogyny built in. Old school Italian, old school Hispanic, like you hear a lot of abuse in those communities. It's just a thing that happens a lot with like between men and wives. And somebody, I don't remember who, a comedian he made the joke that like, yeah, we love Italian food and Mexican food and Chinese food, and apparently if you're not at home beating the hell out of your wife, you don't get good food because Americans get like burgers and fries.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those weird things that like, out of strife, again, you get like these amazing things that...
Right.
But it shows that side of it where Tony Soprano he's very racist and he's very violent, but he tries to do the best thing he can most of the time. And it's just this weird dichotomy that is within all of us that plays out over, 6 seasons or whatever.
Well, one of the most vague endings of a TV show ever.
It is. It's not vague. You know what happens.
Yeah, you kind of know, but left up to interpretation if you'd like to think something else.
Sure.
Still better than the Game of Thrones ending.
Yes.
True.
But it's just such a good... I think it's such a good insight into a fictional character, but it's based on real people. Most of the Sopranos people are based on a Jersey family. But it's really cool to me to look at people and see, yeah, he's not a good person, but he tries to do good when he can. And it's this weird balance that I think we all go through, whereas we're not off like ordering hits on people.
Yeah.
But we all kind of suck sometimes. Sometimes we're dicks to other people, and if you're not willing to take a step back and be like, I should stop being such an asshole today. I'm having for whatever reason, I'm being a bad person. I'm not being good. If you're not willing to do that and you keep going on with it, you get the Karens of the world who are just dicks to people for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
And those stories are boring.
Right.
But what's interesting is seeing the story of people who are both.
And complicated.
Yes.
Just the complication.
We are. We all are. We're all multifaceted.
It's trying to balance you, like, as a person versus, like, the outside forces.
And he's, like, one of the original anti-heroes where he's a bad guy, but you're still rooting for him
Yeah.
at the end. And it's really interesting to me when you think about it like that. Like, it's just fun.
Yeah.
And it's just really good.
Yeah. I agree. My dad loves The Sopranos. It's one of his favorite TV
I'm
shows
looking
of all
forward to
time.
the prequel movie that's coming out. It's going to be
Many Saints.
Yeah.
My wife hates The Sopranos, but it's because of how they treat women. Like,
Right.
all the mobsters, like all the maid guys have gumas, it means side wife. It's just their girlfriends. And she's like, we get into this a lot because Tony's wife knows, they all know. Like, all the wives know the guys have gumas. A gumar. And she's like, well, he shouldn't be doing that. We actually have these discussions where I'm like, she knew what she was getting into when she married him. She knew who he was and what he was about. None of this was left out in the open. So she gets mad about it, but she signed on for it. So again, even the wives, and they're all just super complicated. It's really cool. Like, they do a really good job with that series. And it's not just like The Godfather where it's long and drawn out. Which is still fine. Like, I don't dislike The Godfather. I think Sopranos it was just a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to switch up mine. It's art in a weird sense. So I was thinking of like trying to think outside of the box because I didn't want to just do movies, books, and TV shows.
Favorite bad dragon?
It has dragons in it, Dungeons and Dragons. So what my recommendation is like a DM tool if you're a dungeon master.
Is that they call it? Is that the egg thing that vibrates? Or?
Yeah, that thing. No, so if you followed along, we've been playing D&D on Roll20 and on Twitch for the last almost a year now. And one of the things I've discovered is I am very bad at what I enjoyed doing prior to COVID when we could actually play in real life is being able to build terrain and build like dungeons and stuff like that, like 3D dungeons and stuff like that. So it used to, that was what we would do on weekends is we would build these like huge terrains and play D&D. But since COVID and we hadn't really played, we went on to Roll20 to start playing. So my biggest thing is I always like to have a visual aid for any sort of game I play. So I discovered a website called Inkarnate, INKARNATE.com. And what it is it's a fantastic, you can make maps. You can make battle maps. You can make battle maps. You can make like regional fantasy maps of like whole cities.
Nice.
You can make treasure maps. I've done treasure maps for different parts of the game, and it has different stamps. It has different like layouts. You have all different types of stuff you can do, and You can get a free version, but you literally can pay $25 a year for the pro version, and it has everything. I am amazed by some of these people who create these like beautiful, intricate maps that people use in games, like entire like we're a little confined because we're playing kind of in a world that already exists for Critical Role.
Yeah.
So it's a little harder to make like a brand new map of some sort, like a regional map.
I still need to watch that show.
Oh Jesus. Whew. Anyways, but you can like, so a lot of times what I end up doing, like this one part, we have different. Each day they wake up, they're in a different region, so like mountains and coastal stuff like that, and you can make the map as intricate or as simple as you need it to be. And it's I think it's a fantastic tool for DMs in general, especially if you're right now having to play online and you just are not a drawer, and Roll20 is not known for its ability to make nice maps. This is a fantastic tool on a good budget to make great maps, in my opinion. So that's my recommendation.
Okay, well, my next one, like I've said before, I don't watch television, but that doesn't mean I don't watch series. Like, I just watch them on Netflix or something. I like old series like Xena, Buffy, things like that, Stargate. But my favorite series is called Saving Grace, and I really recommend that people watch it. It's Holly Hunter is Grace.
Oh, yeah. Where she talks to God.
Yeah, not really. No.
Oh.
So it's after the Oklahoma City bombing, and I know we have a lot of younger listeners, but there were 167 people that they know died, and it was so horrific that they had to build the bodies back together in order to bury them. Well, they ended up a couple of months after the bombing, when they were cleaning, they found the leg, and when they did the DNA testing, it turned out it belonged to a girl who was already buried with 2 legs. So they dig her up, they put her right leg with her correct leg. I don't know if it was right or left leg. And they rebury her, but since they had embalmed her, there's no way to know who this leg belonged to. So 168th person we know died. And I'm like, how sad that they're unknown who they are. Well, Grace lost her sister and her niece in this Oklahoma City bombing, which you hear about it, but it's like you just pick up at a moment in her life. She's a drunk. She's very good, police detective. And she hits somebody when she's drunk, and she prays. She prays for help, and please just bring this person back. I don't care what you do with me, just give me a chance. Bring this person back and a chance to redeem myself. Well, her guardian angel comes down. That's probably where he thinks she talks to God.
Yeah, sorry.
And of course, she hates it because when the person's fine after the fact and everything's okay, she's just back to being a drunk, and a police detective makes terrible men decisions. But, and I know it just sounds like your typical run-of-the-mill, which is what I thought it would be, but it wasn't. Think of, like, Touched by an Angel.
Yeah.
Except, like, a hard-hitting drinker, like the closer. But she gets this chance to... So she's redeeming herself. She doesn't realize it at first, but God has actually chosen to give her a second chance. And then he gives her a chance to fix what was broken. At the end, I don't want to give this one away, but it was so good. It was so touching and so good. And it's spiritual, religious, atheist, because she's an atheist.
Right.
She just happens to pray in that moment. And at the end of it, like, you don't really know, was it a guardian angel that came, or is that just how it presented to her? But something hurt her. And I just thought that, I guess I really like people who are broken, whether it's in books or, I need somebody I can relate to.
That's fair. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Saving Grace. It's on Netflix, Hulu.
Yeah, it was on
It's older,
TNT, right? I think it was aired on TNT. I think because I used to watch Law and Order on TNT. I think I used to see the previews.
And Holly Hunter's hot, so.
No fucking shit.
She was my first, like, super big lesbian crush. Yeah. Like, yeah. Holly Hunter is hot.
Yes. Yeah, she is an attractive lady. Anyway.
Speaking of attractive ladies.
Bobby.
Hey,
got him.
I'm gonna shit my pants.
Is that your favorite thing?
No. But I have a TV show recommendation because I'm lazy. And I'm not gonna. That's top of my head. The Wire. That show is a phenomenal show. It is about crime in Baltimore. It deals with the police, the criminals, side of the law. It's a fascinating show.
I've heard everybody say The
So
Wire
fun.
is one of the best shows they've
It
ever
was
watched.
Just-
funny.
It's really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Finished watching it for the first time earlier this year, and I think it's 5 seasons. And I watched it all in like a week and a half.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so fucking
That's
good.
my problem with K-dramas is I'll start one and I'm like, oh, there's 24 episodes. I'll watch a couple. And then it's like, it's 4 o'clock in the morning and I've made bad decisions.
Ugh.
Oopsies.
Ugh. No, thank you.
Such a fascinating show though, because I think my favorite character is actually one of the drug dealers, Bodhi. He's fucking great. It's been out for like 20 years.
It's been out for a while.
old show.
I think it's been out for like 10.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's been out for 20 years, Bobby.
I think it came out in the early 2000s.
I don't think it came out in 2001.
I know it doesn't feel like 20 years ago was 2001, but it is.
If it makes you feel better, I know it wasn't 2001 because I was still in high school.
Oh, and you forgot you're fucking old.
It's true. The Wire's not that old.
True, but it's a good show. Watch it. It's on HBO Max. Please.
Christopher.
All right, so I put together my top 5 list of movies because I thought that's what we were doing.
Yeah, fair.
So I'm going through it anyways, and y'all can all eat a bag of dicks.
As long as I can watch.
So, my number 5 all-time favorite movie, hands down, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
It is a...
Look at you just that's one of your like isn't that one of the movies that like traumatized you for like
No, it didn't traumatize me. I hate it.
Oh, I love it
yeah.
so much.
Oh, we need to do an episode of like things we hate.
I hate the Willy Wonka, the new version with Johnny Depp. It's not necessarily a bad movie. It's not Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it may be closer to the Roald Dahl version of the book. I don't care. The original's just better. It is fantastic, and it's really cool. I can quote that whole movie. I've watched it a million times. I just love it so much.
Fuck Grandpa Joe though.
Yeah, that dude's a dick.
He's a piece of shit.
I'm on definitely team Grandpa George because he doesn't get out of the bed no matter what. He's sticking to the lie. I refuse to work. I don't care if we're going to a chocolate factory. That dude ain't getting up. Grandpa Joe's a dick that's like, hey, free vacation. Suddenly my legs work again. Sorry about your mom being a poor washerwoman and you delivering papers while we starve to death. Yeah.
It's true.
Grandpa Joe's a
Yeah.
dick. Yeah, so. I hate Grandpa Joe so much. Oh, my wife knows it too. That guy sucks. All right, number 4, all-time, Trainspotting.
Ooh, that one's rough, but yeah, it's
It is.
good.
It's so good. It is about heroin addicts in Scotland, and it is awesome. It is. I saw it probably when I was like 14, and have watched it like maybe twice a month ever since. Forever, like it's just always gonna be played. It's so well shot, and it's not like it's a super expensive movie to make. Like they probably didn't spend a bunch of money on it, but it is really, really well written and really well done. And it shows, I mean, just how. And I don't live in Europe, so it's weird to me to think about their like drug culture over there. But it kind of shows you what it was like in the mid '90s with heroin and coke and the parties and the discos and the trance music and the EDH and the house all coming into like one big, just giant dumpster fire of existence, and it was fantastic.
How's the sequel?
So it was okay. It was called Porno, I think.
I thought it was called Trainspotting, just T2, whatever that was called.
The book was called like Porno.
Oh, gotcha. I'm talking about the
Basically, the main character in Trainspotting gets off heroin, moves to London, gets a flat, starts trying to like live a regular life. A lot of his friends come back from back in the day, drag him into, they're making porns to make money. It's just a whole big thing.
Fair?
It's okay.
It's not as good as the original.
It can't be. No.
Fair.
The original was great. It's just this weird, really look at like mid-90s Euro drug culture, which is cool to me.
Yeah.
So that's a good number 4. Number 3, all-time, Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Love the story's a short story if you've ever read it. Stephen King. It's maybe like 20 pages long. The movie's shot really, really well. And it's everybody that's ever seen it's like, oh, this is a pretty good movie. Well, yeah, it's really good. If you haven't seen it, if you live under a rock, I don't understand.
Should have won fucking Best Picture, but they had to give it to fucking Forrest Gump.
I mean,
Fuck that movie.
if you're ever a lovable, mentally handicapped person, you're gonna win some
Well,
award.
Well, we-
That didn't go full retard.
Yeah, we just watched Tropic Thunder again. It's like Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
A little dumb, a little slow. Didn't go full retard.
Yep, he's
Well,
gumping it.
Clearly, yeah. Clearly, I'm not lovable, so it's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, it's hard to not love Shawshank Redemption. It's just a good all-around movie.
Yep.
Number 2, Blazing Saddles.
That movie's good.
Would not be made today. It is
No, it
very,
would not.
Very not PC. They throw a lot of hard N-words around.
Yep.
It's Mel Brooks. It is a comedy masterpiece. A lot of his stuff is really good. Robin Hood Men in Tights, Young Frankenstein.
Spaceballs.
He did good work. I think Blazing Saddles may be one of the top comedies of all time.
It's good.
It's that or Caddyshack. I think may be the best comedy ever made.
What about Ghostbusters? It's Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters is good. It is not the best comedy ever made.
Blazing Saddles was like social commentary.
Yeah.
That's why, on top of being funny.
If you've never seen it, do yourself a favor. Put whatever PC hat you wear to the side for a little while and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
I can't wear hats.
Understand that Mel Brooks was a very Jewish man who plays an Indian in this movie in one part, and when the black sheriff comes to town, it's just great.
Yep.
And he's like, whew, he's darker than we are. And I'm like, thank you, Mel Brooks. You're the best. But it's an Old West. It's just a great movie.
Yeah.
Again, if you're super easily offended by stuff, probably don't watch it. You probably cannot handle that movie. But if you can put it to the side for a little while and understand that it is commentary on the time when it was made, it's insanely good. And then number one all time for me is The Departed.
It was good.
That movie's just, I can watch it every day, forever.
That movie depressed me so bad.
That's why I love it. I love movies that have that.
You and Angie have this thing about broken people.
Well, so everybody's broken in some way. I hate movies that are like, oh, everything worked out and they loved each other in the end forever. That is rarely how it ever works out.
Yeah.
It is almost always a train of
shit
disasters that people either manage or don't. And if they don't, it goes way off the rails. And if they do, it's good for a while. And that's cool. Like, I think that's what most of life is managing disasters. If you can, cool. If you can't, well, it sucks to be you because your life's going to be shitty for a while. Sorry. Learn how to manage these things. But The Departed is all these broken people coming together in a really interesting way. And it's loosely based on Whitey Bulger, who was a criminal up in Boston in the 70s, which is also awesome. That dude's life story is bananas crazy. So I dig nonfiction. I love real true crime. And so when you tie it into a good story, I'm in. Like, you sold me. I'm sorry. I'm going to watch this. So Whitey Bulger was recently arrested in California. I say recently, in the past, 10 years. He made it out of Boston. He was a horrific, violent man. But the character in the movie, Frank, is played by Jack Nicholson, and he's pretty much just Whitey Bulger in Boston, and it is just it's a masterpiece.
Well, my next recommendation is I love horror. I don't like horror video games. I think I've made that abundantly clear for years now. But I love horror manga, and I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's anime manga." Let me tell you something, fuckers. If you ever want to read something so twisted...
She's arguing with people who aren't even here.
They're arguing with me. I know they are.
She's arguing with me.
I'm arguing with Chris.
Because I'm already here.
Listen, I will tell you that the most twisted, dark horror stories I have ever read have been through horror mangas. And the three that I always recommend is Uzumaki from Junji Ito, which that's just basically a kind of a modern retelling of H.P. Lovecraft and Cthulhu. And the entire town goes crazy because they keep seeing these spirals. It's fucked up. Abitsu, which is even more scary. It's about an urban legend about if you see a girl who it's like if you ever see one of those Lolita girls and she's sitting near a trash can and she asks, "Are you my sibling?" You can't answer a right answer. You can't say no. She'll just immediately kill you. If you say yes, she will follow you around and kill your actual siblings. And it's one of those things, again, where, in a lot of Asian cultures, you're not supposed to actually answer the question. It's a very strange, but it's so scary. And my top favorite one is Another, which...
I fucking hate that anime.
You hate...
I fucking think it's trash.
Why?
I just watched it years ago. I was like, I don't like this. I watched the first 3 episodes. Wasn't a fan, but good for you.
That's it. Go fuck yourself. Another is legitimately one of the scariest animes I've ever watched.
Ain't nobody trying to hear that weeb bullshit up in here?
It's not weeby whatsoever.
Yeah,
it is.
Another was good.
It was legitimately about a ghost girl, or not a ghost girl, but it's almost Final Destination, but a lot better, a better version of it.
All I'm hearing is weeby tentacle porn, weeby
You
horror.
I'm gonna have to argue with you.
This is from the Naruto fan.
I was about to say this is from the guy who thought Dragon Ball Z was a master classic.
It is.
I also don't like any animes or manga, so.
You are good.
Yeah,
this man.
I don't want to watch any of them.
I'm just a cunt.
That's true, but I recommend horror manga. If you don't like the weeby anime bullshit, just go straight to the horror stuff because that shit's good. Dead Man Wonderland's really good too. I didn't watch it because it scared the shit out of me.
Read the manga; it's better. It actually has an ending.
That's the only thing about Dead Man Wonderland is they should have made more seasons.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, that's my recommendation. My man, madame.
Okay, so I was reading this book and I found it. It was a wonderful book. I don't know about the movie. I didn't risk it because the book traumatized me. I actually threw it into a corner and it was lived on timeout. For a long
I know
time.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's called The Lovely Bones, and very.
It's a pretty good movie.
Yeah,
Real talk. Yeah,
I can't do it.
She threw the book in a corner and said, "You live there now."
Fuck the book.
I felt such grief for that girl. I just couldn't. Like, I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about it. It's heartbreaking, but it's so good as a commentary on the grief families go through. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they lived next door to her murderer and her bones in the yard scattered around just devastated me. But and I don't know if the movie has the part where she when she dies, when he murders her, her spirit rushes and runs down the road to get away from the trauma of what just happened, and it runs past the girl. And the girl actually knew that a spirit had rushed past her. So later in life, now these two didn't really know each other in life, but she's sitting on a cloud. Well, she sits and she looks down and she watches what's happening, and like time, it's like the way they say, to God, one day is like 1,000 years to God, and 1,000 years. So she's watching. Really, no time is passing, but every day, like, someone comes down to her and says, Are you ready to move past this? And she says, no, I can't. I can't move past. My dad's heartbroken. My sister's traumatized. What if he goes after her? I need to watch. And so eventually someone comes and sits with her every day and watches with her. And she starts watching this girl who starts dating the guy she always liked. But she never really had talked to him. So she ends up coming down, and the girl has always tried to get in touch with the spirit because she's always had this idea that it was her. And she wants to contact her and say, hey, where are you? Like, where are your bones? Where are you? Because when she was murdered, nobody really knew what had happened to her because he took her underground in a field and raped and murdered her. Very, very graphic in the book. That's when it went in timeout.
Yeah, fair. And
because, she's going through the middle thing that I didn't think my first time would be like this painful, and then he's stabbing her as he's doing it, and as she dies, she just has such regret that she didn't listen to her parents, and she walked home that way anyway. And anyway, she possesses this girl, and they end up sharing a soul for a while. But it was good.
It's almost like Oh My Ghost too.
Yeah,
did the same thing in Oh My Ghost.
Although Oh My Ghost at least had funny parts.
Yes. Like she's she was like super virginal, and then the girl who possesses her is like, I want to get laid. I died before I got laid.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. Not
Lovely Bones.
Not the Lovely Bones.
Oh My Ghost is
about
funny.
The Lovely Bones is funny, but it's just this spirit, and to think like, as she's up and she's watching, she doesn't have her human emotions anymore, but she's still tied because mostly her worry for her sister. I think the movie focuses on her love for her dad and her mom, but in the book she has such an intense worry for her younger sister that she knows exactly where all of her bones are, and where her bones are is how she's attached to here. And they find bits and pieces of her bones, but they can't find all of her because he's cut her up and scattered her.
I can't do it. You've said how good it is. I just can't do it. I just can't.
It's good, but it's a one and done read.
It's like Grave of the Fireflies. It's a one and done watch.
No.
However,
I haven't even watched
it. Was
Fucked.
so good.
It's depressing.
So good. Yeah. I'm starting to see a trend here with the things I like.
The very end thing is going to be like, I like a McDonald's burger. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Devil's a part-timer?
Yeah.
I think I just like the things where people are elevated. I don't know. I think trauma... Okay, this is going to sound so, like, twisted God. But I think trauma makes people beautiful.
Can.
I just do. I think...
I
like
get it.
you were saying, art
Yeah,
is
you have to
inspired
have
by
something
trauma.
broken.
I just think it's beautiful.
I think that's a very poetic thing, but then my first thing went back to My Chemical Romance. Like, I don't know why.
Fair enough.
Meanwhile, I'm
not if it destroys you.
right.
Yeah.
But even sometimes in your path of self-destruction, there's just a lot of beauty there. And maybe the only way you can actually see or acknowledge that is to have seen like the worst, so
Right.
you can see the best. And sometimes these things like open up that window or that door that we can look through and put a toe in.
Yeah.
I'm going to go weeby for a minute and recommend a manga that you probably hadn't heard of. It's called Billy Bat.
I have not heard of that.
I'm going to read the summary
Look
because...
at Chris is like checked out once again.
I just don't care about any of this.
It's very interesting. It's not your typical manga. But I'm going to read the summary
Ooh.
because it's hard to explain what happens in this manga. Story begins in 1949 and follows Japanese-American comic book artist Kevin Yatagama as he draws his popular series, Billy Bat. When he learns he might have subconsciously copied the character from a piece of art he saw in Japan, he goes there to get permission from the artist. Well, then he becomes embroiled in a web of murder, cover-ups, and prophecy that lead back to Billy Bat. And it's fucking fascinating.
That sounds pretty good, actually.
It's interesting. It's 20 volumes. It's 169 chapters. I learned about it off a Yu-Gi-Oh forum way back in the day. And I love it. It's fucking great. It's the only manga series where I own all of it.
That actually sounds good.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very good.
I know Chris is like, peace out, but I gotta tell you, a lot of times with manga, like, you're not going with the weeby bleach Naruto bullshit. Like, there are some really great stories that they just tell because that's the way they tell the stories in Asia. So, I'm down.
Then there's Strawberry Panic, which is on my shelf.
That's the hentai,
Strawberry
right?
Panic. No, it's not a hentai.
I don't know.
It's Yuri.
It's a panic. It's a Yuri.
Oh, so it's the lesbian hentai.
Yeah, but they don't do it.
Fair.
Look
The
at your
ghost keeps interrupting.
judgmental face right now. They don't
It's not
do it.
hentai.
Do they gump in it?
What?
Goddamn weeps.
I don't know what that means.
You look it up.
Chris, what's your favorite anime?
Whichever one I don't have to watch. They're all my favorite equally as long as I don't have to see them.
Fair.
I just don't. It's just not my cup of tea. My wife has tried to get me to watch Demon Slayer, which I don't care about. Devil's a Part-Timer. I don't care about. Something where they're gambling in school, which I don't care about.
Oh,
that
yeah,
one,
that's
yeah.
pretty good.
There's one where they're like chefs or something, which I don't care
Food
about.
Wars, gross, bad.
Yeah, I just don't. I'm just out. I don't care about any of them. I have seen one anime in my life that I liked. It was called Colorful, and it is hilarious. It is fucked up, and it's great. And that's about it. So I'm out on the whole Japanese style weedy cartoons.
Okay, what is another top 5 you would have then?
Or just a favorite. That'd be top 5.
Yeah.
The two things that most people aren't watching that they should be that are cartoony are Bob's Burgers, which is really good. And it's just this family that owns a restaurant, and they're poor, and they're really odd, and it makes me happy. And Archer, which is the best thing to come out in the past 15 years. Not close. It's fantastic. Also, both main character is H. John Benjamin. They do a couple crossover episodes where Archer goes to Bob's restaurant, which is just fantastic.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's really good. But, no, Archer is about like a Secret Service style OSS, DSI, MI5 organization that just bumbles and stumbles their way into, I'm not going to say doing things well, but
They do them.
things happen. They end up with a bunch of cocaine at some points, and yeah, a lot of paralyzed people, a lot of death. It's just really good. There's robots and space and
Sex.
underwater, and it's a lot of the guys that were involved with Sea Lab 2021 are involved with Archer, so it's a lot of that old school Adult Swim style. If you happen to partake in the greenery back in the day and were up at midnight on watching Cartoon Network when Adult Swim and the Brack Show and all that was around, you're probably gonna like Archer.
My last thing, I was debating, which it's either video game or then I decided not video game because everybody knows Dragon Age. The Dragon Age series is like legitimately my favorite video game series of all time. I'm going with music. I recommend Nightwish. They're just fantastic. You can't, if you like...
With which singer with which bad name?
Floor Jansen?
No. They had like 9 different ones that all have bad names, right?
Well, Annette Olsen, her name was kind of normal. But that's just because they're European. But let me tell you something.
That's racist.
Floor, you literally, there is no singer out there who can touch the God, the omnipotent God. And Angie's nodding because she agrees with me. That is Floor. She can sing opera. She can sing head voice, chest voice. She can growl. She can do everything. She's fantastic. So if you are a metal fan or a rock fan or anything like that, I highly suggest listening to Nightwish. I suggest you listening to Floor Stuff. She's the third singer, but she was already previously in a bunch of bands, so she's much more. She's been around forever, but she's also. I would suggest. What's my favorite album? Oh my God, they're all my favorite album. I would start with the Floor Stuff. Endless Forms Most Beautiful is my favorite album, followed by Imaginarium, which that was not Floor, that was Annette Olson, but her stuff. Floor singing Imaginarium is
Or if
beautiful.
you want to go find out if you like it, go to YouTube, put in Ghost Love Score, Whackin' 2016.
2013.
And that was Buenos Aires.
Was it? No, I thought it was Whackin' was 2013.
I'm just hearing a fucking masturbation reference right here, and I'm interested.
Whackin'.
Yeah.
And then just go put that in. It's incredible.
Ghost Love Score is probably the number one song to listen to, followed by Greatest Show on Earth. If you want to hear the epitome of Nightwish, to my opinion, the song Greatest Show on Earth is the best song that has ever been written.
Fair.
So that's my recommendation. No, legitimately, you can you hear it. It's literally the song is about evolution, is from the Big Bang to what happens after we're gone. It's a 23-minute song.
Oh.
It is fantastic. Angie like Ghost Love Score though. Go ahead, you can pass on.
I don't feel like listening to monkeys howl in my songs. Like, I know it's an incredible song. It's exactly.
It's like for
what it does in the middle.
maybe 5 seconds when it hits into like going into like about human evolution.
But watching it in concert with the lights and them was
The
was
backgrounds
pretty
of
cool.
what's going on.
But I think just pulling it up and listening to it, you might be like, "What the actual fuck?"
I'm saying pull up the concert version.
Yeah.
Listen to the actual concert
Do they
version.
have real monkeys in the concert version?
That'd be cool if they did, but they did not.
They're whipping them.
Yeah.
Time to howl, assholes.
I did choke on that joke.
I'm choke on this.
So inappropriate. Okay, my last and final one is "I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings" by Maya Angelou. Like, she's just an incredible person. Actually, just Maya Angelou is my favorite thing.
You should tell them the story about Maya Angelou when you were in college.
Maybe, but she was born very poor, and she's older in the old South, but she was also, what a lot of people don't know about her, a very staunch civil rights advocate. She worked with Malcolm X, and she worked with Dr. Martin Luther King. And she was over in Africa, did a lot of work over there, and they actually called her back to the States to help set up the Southern Baptist Coalition to fight for civil rights. And a lot of people don't know that about her. They think she's just a writer, but she's not. I mean, there's nothing about her that was normal or average. She was an incredible woman. She did a lot to progress women's rights, African American rights, mothers' rights, and she just overcomes so much in her life. And her poetry is literally like my favorite things on the planet. Like, I'm sure you've heard I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings, but if you look at her book of poetry, like I'll Rise, my God, like it's just so good. But I like the I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings because you think, oh, it's gonna have such a nice ending, but it doesn't. Like, the cage bird sings because it's crying out to heaven to be free.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just Maya Angelou. Pick up her stuff. Give it a read. She did take her life story and fictionalize it, so it is her, but it is fictional. But she's admitted that it's real. She just wanted to make the character of her a little more interesting, I guess. But it's about how she was molested and raped as a kid. And
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, she had a really bad childhood.
refused to talk, but she has such humor.
Yeah.
And she did a lot of speaking engagements, and she ended up coming for our concert lecture series in college. And I ran the sound booth, and I had a lab, and in college you can't miss these labs. Like, they're like the few things that are attendance mandatory. And I'm running, and I have to go to the bathroom before I get to the sound booth, and I run smack into this super tall woman. And a lot of people from town would come to our concert lecture series because we had a big auditorium. And I go in, I'm like, I'm so sorry I knocked you over. Like, I'm just so excited about, hearing my Angelou talk. And like, I heard her laugh, and she was like, "No worries, baby." And that voice is so unique, and I'm like, did I just run over my Angelou? And I get to the sound booth, and sure enough, she walks on the stage, and like her first story is about the little white girl that nearly knocked her over.
That's me.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, I did this.
I was just like, I touched my Angelou as I knocked her over. Like, yeah, when I tell you I ran into her, it was like full on, football tackle. But yeah, my Angelou. She's like my hero. Nice.
You would say she's your My Hero Academia?
Yeah, she probably wouldn't touch that. She'd probably make fun of it.
Probably. It's anime.
It's like
That's the right answer.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
Hayao Miyazaki making fun of anime. Like, fuck
Yeah.
anime. It's like, you're fucking Hayao
So on
Miyazaki.
Tiny Lady stream, she said she started watching anime and she was gonna start with Spirited Away, and I tried so hard to explain the difference between animated and anime.
Yeah.
It never got through. I'm watching animes, and she watched Your Name, because she was like, "What other?" I said, "Watch the animated movie Your Name," and she was like, "Angie, I watched the Your Name anime," and I was like, "Oh, that's great."
Please don't do that to
Wholesome
me.
being.
Yeah,
Wholesome.
I didn't want to be that person and be like, first of all,
It's anime, but not anime. It's hard to explain.
it's animated.
It's animated.
It's
It's like,
Miyazaki gets really hot if you call it. He doesn't like anime.
He's
So,
correct.
If you call
Yeah.
his animated movies anime, he gets salty.
he's like, I did not make an anime weeby thing. I made an animated movie. So,
You notice how no one's getting fucked by tentacles? This is not that.
Anyway.
speaking of tentacles,
Hashtag La Blue Girl.
All right. I'm gonna cry. Anyway, I have my last recommendation. My last recommendation is a book, an autobiography. If Chins Could Kill: Confessions of a B-Movie Actor by Bruce Campbell. It's fucking phenomenal.
God, I love Bruce Campbell.
It's such a good book. It's fucking hilarious. Just him growing up, doing like the early fucking B movies, and then doing Evil Dead, and going to the ends.
Did he talk about Xena?
Yes, he does. With him being not Jess Keeter.
Atticus.
Atticus, yeah. You know, it deals with it ends right after like Spider-Man came out, because it's from like when he's born to like 01, but it's really good. You should read it. Fucking hilarious book. It's so fucking funny. I love it. Love it. He's also a cutie pie. Bruce, you're out there. I'm saying.
it is,
When he
yeah.
was Autolycus, I just loved it.
He's a good
He's the
actor.
king of thieves.
He's one of those that he's always going to be typecasted, but it's okay because it is Bruce Campbell. Like, that is who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the good villain.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. I think he's playing the next Doctor in America, right?
Hadn't heard that.
Yeah, I think they released
That'd be
a picture
incredible.
of him as the next Doctor.
For Doctor Who?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll
No
watch that
fucking
one.
way.
I think so.
I'll watch that one. I watched the first Doctor Who series, like the first new.
Oh, Eccleston.
Yeah, but when she left, I was done.
Yeah, it is hard when you're like, oh, well, that was my favorite Doctor. The new Doctor sucks. Bye.
Well, he had to she had to go back, and he never knew what happened to her, and
You're over it.
I mean, I love endings like that. However,
Oh, no, he's going to be Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
oh, Doctor Strange.
Never
Yeah.
mind.
Okay.
I'm down for that,
Not
too.
Doctor Who. I was like, fuck.
Something
I'm
else
super
nerdy.
down for that too.
I'm actually so down for Bruce Campbell to be in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, because Sam Raimi's directing it.
Oh, my God.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God. That's so good.
Yeah.
That means Lucy Lawless will be in it.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
not-
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angie is, like, having, like, lesbian flashbacks to Xena.
Lucy Lawless. Hold on, let me twiddle my nipples real quick.
So, Chris, what's your last recommendation?
So my favorite poet of all time is he's actually local to Georgia. His name is David Bottoms. Most people have never heard of him. He was the official poet laureate for Georgia for a bunch of years. Born down in Macon. He's basically a less drunk and more straight line Charles Bukowski. But he talks about like Southern things, about life in the South when you're poor and growing up. And he was also a drunk, but not as much of a drunk. Like I don't. Bukowski's fine. Like people tend to like him a little too much. I think like they like him to say they like him rather than just actually reading him. He's okay. David Bottoms is more. He's like a more streamlined Bukowski that's more like regional, which is I just think his work is really underrated. He has a poem called "Shooting Rats at the Bibb County Dump," which makes my heart ache because it's just so goddamn good. And no one's heard of him, and it makes me sad. So I tell everybody they should read him. Like,
All right,
when I
I'll go
meet new
check him
people
out.
that want to read poetry, I usually just give them one of his books and say, here, enjoy.
I'm going to make a controversial statement for this group is that I hate poetry. I absolutely can't
I mean, it's
stand
fine.
it.
It's not for everybody.
I know. Look, I know.
She does. I write poetry and I don't get Becky to read it.
Sure.
I mean, I think it's, it's sort of like, that's a great thing. It's very talented. I rather read a book.
Yeah,
I
no-
rather have a full story of
No,
something
it's fine.
at any day.
You don't like poetry. Chris doesn't like anime. I don't like gay people, so.
The level of
And I
self-loathing
don't like
Bobby
happy
has for
endings.
himself.
No, I was about to make this
So
joke,
much.
too. But I give kudos to anybody who can write poetry. It's just oof, I just can't do it.
That's
Oof.
fair.
I think it's because I have trauma from when I was in middle school having to like do poetry readings in school.
Well, they always like pick,
They
like,
force it
Walden
to,
and
yeah.
shit,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like
It's
nobody
they're-
wants to read.
I
on
mean, they want to
Walden's
read
fun.
like there's some things that
I
read
took
like.
the road less traveled. Go fuck yourself.
I
Walt
mean,
Whitman.
I do like what is it the one about the albatross? That one I like epic poems. Like that can do stuff like that. Stuff that like but I'm a big fantasy nerd, so that's why I'm more like I'll just read a book. I'd rather
fair.
just read it. I don't like in the opposite fashion, I just don't like heartbreak and sadness and stuff like that. I want an epic story.
Oh no, I need the heartbreak and sadness.
I mean, I don't mind the heartbreak and sadness if it's in a book and it's like part of the book, but I can't. It has to be as part of something. I can't just read something and be like, "Wow, I'm depressed now," and that's all I know.
Oh no, I need that in my life. I need to feel them pouring their soul onto the page for
See, I like.
6 stanzas, and I'm like, yeah, you motherfucker, I get it. I know where you're at.
Fair.
I think Angie nearly like divorced me by when I said I just didn't like Shel Silverstein. I just don't.
You don't know where the sidewalk ends?
I hate
She-
that. I hate it.
Sarah Sylvia Cynthia Stout would not take the garbage out.
Fuck it.
I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that she didn't
Who
like
does
I
it.
don't. I
People
just
that
don't.
can't- You know what? People that can't read like Shel Silverstein, you're a bad person.
I just don't like him.
From
I
the second grade on, Shel
Yeah.
Silverstein has just been like, oh,
I think
and
maybe-
that should have been in our top 5. Shel
He's,
Silverstein.
so I'm not saying he's not like wonderful but he's just not like my favorite poet. He's good,
Yeah.
but he's
love
not my
it, though.
favorite. He's just like, he's that guy you can always read and it takes you 2 seconds. You're like,
Yeah.
I like you,
I
Shel
like
Silverstein.
that.
I like where you're going.
I like
can't
that.
stand it. We need to do a worse one episode, like what we fucking hate.
I'm down.
Can it just be anime?
You can do just straight up anime because I'm gonna go on for 30 minutes about the Breakfast Club and why I hate the Breakfast Club. I fucking hate the
I'll
Breakfast
strike
Club.
her.
I will punch you straight in the mouth. I don't give a shit if you're a lawyer.
The Breakfast Club is literally one of the worst movies I've ever watched.
This bitch.
I'm just saying.
She tracked one.
Stupidest movie I've ever seen. I'm like, by the end of it, I'm like, I wasted 2 hours of my life and I wish I had him back.
Hey,
If we all murder her at the same time, can we be tried? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
hey, where can
Where is my dead body gonna be found?
yeah where can
Under
they find
Bobby's car, so he gets arrested.
where can they find your last rights? According to
You
your
can
last
find
rights.
us on Facebook at The Free Rotation Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at The Free Rotation. We're also on YouTube and Twitch.
In
at-
my fucking basement rotting.
Whatever. I will one day when we do this, I will tell you exactly why the fucking Breakfast Club is the
And you'll be
stupidest
wrong
movie.
the whole time.
Nope.
Not enough
And there's
candles.
a lot of people. I hate 80s movies. I really hate them. I
you're
hate
going to
Molly
hell.
She hates
Ringwald.
Molly Ringwald.
Fucking hate her. She fucking pisses me off.
So you don't like Back to the Future?
I don't really care for it. It's fine. It's fine
We
as
just
an
murder her now, and I won't.
Ferris Bueller, go fuck yourself. I can't stand 80s movies. They piss me off. I'll have to explain it one day. Look at Chris. I think,
I will strike you down.
go ahead. I will use the power of my weebiness to strike you down with the power of your 80s-ness. We'll see. Your hair versus the like weird-ass hair in anime.
Oh no, he gets my hair.
Yeah, big dick, bad boy energy versus weird little Japanese kids. I'm gonna shred you.
I'm going to say Japanese urban legends is the reason why people don't live ever. You can find us on Weeby Geeks. It's actually now called the Weeby Geeks podcasting forum. They changed the name. Apparently that's a thing now, so that's where you find us. That's
The Weeby Geeks podcasting forum.
It's like Weeby Geeks. It's still WeebyGeeksPC.com though, and you can check out our backlog at TheFreeRotation.com. There you go.
Have a good rest of your weekend.
and we love all of
A
you
week.
except for Becky.
I hate the Breakfast Club.
And they hate you too.
Thank God.
That's what I always tell them. They hate you too.
Good.
TheFreeRotation.